All right. Our next and last speaker before our next break is Sandy Manor with Bayrock. Sandy is a 30+ year Bay Area media and marketing professional, currently serving as the campaign coordinator for the Bay Area Recycling Outreach Coalition, or Bayrock, and marketing agency for the Central Coast Recycling Media Coalition. Sandy is experienced in helping multi-jurisdictional organizations achieve common goals in waste reduction and sustainability outreach. Welcome, Sandy.
Thank you. Thank you. Great to see you all. So just by a show of hands, how many of you participate in some kind of multi-jurisdictional work group or task force? So that cuts my work in half right there. So congratulations. You understand the value and the power of working together to achieve a common goal. Well, regional outreach campaigns, regional marketing campaigns are that same idea, and it is just, you know, amplifying a media message, working together to create messages that serve a greater good. So I am going to use Bayrock, Bay Area Recycling Outreach Coalition, as sort of an example of a regional marketing campaign. So those of you who are familiar with Bayrock, or if you're not, Bayrock is the Bay Area Recycling Outreach Coalition. They are a multi-jurisdictional group made up of public and private agencies throughout the greater Bay Area. They've been working together since 1996 to put out media campaigns that promote waste reduction and personal responsibility and actions in a real positive way. In the greater Bay Area, you know, we're working in quite a big marketplace. Some of our messages that we're putting out there are things about waste reduction, regarding packaging, buying less packaging, buying things that are made from recycled products, reducing junk mail. We've been working on campaigns about reducing food waste and reducing single-use disposables by promoting reuse. So some of our messages, these are just some examples of some of our food waste reduction and single-use disposable messages. These are examples of some of our digital media ads. Digital media, you know, is anything that's connected to the internet. So the great thing about digital is that it is highly targetable. You can target individuals by certain demographic characteristics, by behavioral characteristics, and of course, by geography. The really nice thing too is that it provides data about your ads and activities and actions that people take with your ads. And once they get to where they're going, what they do when they get there. So another tactic that Bayrock uses is broadcast media. We have been primarily using radio. Well, radio broadcast doesn't really respect jurisdictional borders. And so, you know, you're going to be sending messages out there that are, they're crossing over jurisdictional lines, and kind of want to think about when you're putting messages out there, who's going to get that message and what are you telling them? One thing that you're all, I'm sure, very familiar with is that recycling programs, composting programs, they vary greatly across, you know, from one city to the next, what's accepted, you know, what the processes are, what the end products are. So when you're putting messages out there in broadcast, you really have to think about who's getting that message and what are you really asking them to do. So when we're putting together a regional outreach campaign, we really want to think about the greater good. What is the highest common denominator that everybody shares in terms of defining an audience by their characteristics? Are they common across jurisdictional lines? That would be, say, let's say, for example, mothers with young children. That would be potentially applicable across jurisdictional borders, or maybe it's young working professionals. So when you're thinking about defining your audience, think about who is out there across all of who shares a common audience. And then we're also thinking about the messaging. What message can we put out there that's positive, that's actionable, and that actually is applicable to all of the jurisdictions that it's covering, that all of the audiences that it's reaching. What Bayrock has really figured out is that messages about source reduction ultimately serve the greatest good. It's the highest up in your hierarchy of food waste, or of all waste reduction, is reducing waste. So we look at positive messaging that reduces waste from its source. Another way that regional campaigns can potentially help the jurisdictions and the participants is to help them meet state mandates for public outreach and public messaging. It seems like every time a new law passes, you have new challenges with more required mandated messaging. How do you achieve all that? How do you do more with less, depending on the year in your budget? So regional campaigns can help you potentially achieve some of these mandated messages that are simple enough to apply across the board. Anything from like AB 341 or SB 1383. These are things that you guys can all do work on together, and I'll take credit for in that regard. So when you talk about doing less with, or doing more with less, say, for example, your jurisdiction has $1,000 budget to achieve a particular outreach message. And in the Bay Area, I don't know how many know this, but the Bay Area is the 6th largest media market in the nation. And how that's defined is just by population, by the number of people that the media message are reaching. And typically when you are working with media buying, the rates of media is commensurate with the number of people that your media is reaching. So rates are very expensive for broadcast media, for example. And so if you were to put your $1,000 into your local jurisdiction media, you could potentially afford maybe a couple of ads in your community newspaper, very honorable application. You could, or buy a few radio spots, maybe not the best investment to buy, a handful of radio spots, or you could maybe afford about 10,000 digital media impressions. Now, if, on the other hand, on the right side of the screen is an example of like a typical Bayrock campaign, where it's maybe a 6-week campaign. All of the resources combined, about $70,000 to $80,000 for a media buy. And then suddenly that $1,000 can afford hundreds of media spots, hundreds of broadcast radio spots, millions of digital ad impressions, plus all the production and the creative content, plus social media amplification, plus all of the reporting and analysis from that campaign. So forming your regional media campaign, you're going to just want to come together, form your common goals, decide how you're going to fund your campaign. Is it based on a per capita contribution? Is it based on whatever kind of grant you can come up with? And just figure out how you're going to have accountability and implement that campaign. Just getting your ducks in a row. And then to ensure your ongoing success, really just think about what are those highest common denominators? How can you serve the greater good and achieve something that is really a win for all of you and for all of the audience that's in earshot of your message? Combine those resources, and that includes your active participation, your your ideation and creative collaboration, working together to talk about strategies, and then going out there and getting it done. And in the end, you can share all of those outputs and have those available for you to use in your local jurisdictions and through all your messaging locally. And then you take credit for all of the outcomes. So anybody who wants to join Bayrock and learn how to take advantage of all of the benefits of a regional media campaign, if you're in the Greater Bay Area, we meet monthly, and I invite anyone to connect with us on social media. And if you have any questions about Bayrock, about what is involved in becoming part of Bayrock, or if you'd just like to have a conversation about how a regional outreach campaign can benefit your organization, I invite you to talk to me. I'm Sandy Manor. Ad Manor Incorporated is my company. Some shameless self-promotion here.
All right. Thanks, Sandy. Proud Bayrock member. Anyone has questions? Anyone online? Questions? No. Questions? Oh, over there.
Hi, Sandy. Lisa Boriani from Recycle More.
Hi, Lisa.
If we were able to help support like a regional campaign, and some of us we have our certain jurisdiction that only covers maybe certain areas in a county or a region, are we able, with the support that we offer, are we able to kind of tailor specifically to those areas that are kind of in our jurisdiction, or how does that work?
If I understand the question, are you talking about the like the resources and the creative stuff that
the
we
media
create?
buy, basically the media buy, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the answer is yes and yes, to some degree. Of course, when we are doing broadcast, that message is going to go out to everybody in earshot. And that's the beauty of broadcast messaging, is that you reach a lot of people and potentially, a number of times, because you want that message to go out there. When I am mostly what I've been doing for the past couple of years with Bayrock, where I can tailor messages to be delivered geographically, is with digital advertising. And I have been doing that when that's possible. Certain things like mobile apps, if you're going to do a type of a sponsorship of something like the KQED mobile app, that's going to go out to anybody who has that on their phone. But if it's anything that we can target by geography, I've been doing that to amplify the frequency of messaging for our Bayrock participants, because they are contributing financially to the campaign. So I have been doing that. And then absolutely all of the creative assets that we produce are available for the jurisdictions to use. And we can also help you customize those to make room for your logo, or resize them for your local newspapers, or your maybe your e-newsletters or anything like that. So absolutely, it's important that not only does the regional campaign serve the needs and the jurisdictions that are participating actively in it, but also then that we give the opportunity for those jurisdictions to amplify those messages locally and make them just give that more frequency of message for the local communities.
You have a question online.
To the online audience, I'm not neglecting you. This question is from Susan Blockman. What are the metrics for evaluating effectiveness?
They vary, and it's going to really depend. What are some of your tactics and your strategies? Are you trying to get people to visit your website? Are you trying to get them to fill out a form, take a pledge? Are you trying to get clicks? Ultimately, what we've been doing with Bayrock is we've been measuring the hits to our website as a measurement of our broadcast messaging, because we use, I don't know if you noticed on our digital ads, we've been using vanity URLs for for each campaign. So for our food waste campaign, we use lovefoodnotwaste.org, and that drives people directly to our food waste prevention page on our website. For our single-use disposable campaign, we use reuse2go.org, and so that drives people to our reuse and single-use disposable page. So we can kind of gauge the response to broadcast messages by direct hits to those pages and just by hits to our website in general. But as far as the digital media campaign is concerned, we have real direct measurement of those. We can tell how long people spend with our videos. We can tell how many people listen to like a Spotify ad to its full length. We can tell who clicks through on certain messages. We measure, the response to one message versus another message and gauge, which ones were more successful than others. So it's mostly it's been active response and response on our website that we've been able to gauge those metrics, because we're not doing other measurable things like, lid flips and things like that.
Well, thank you, Sandy. All right. I love it. Outreach. Compost, working together. That's all what NCRA is about. All right.